Imagine this for a moment. It's late at night. You're not panicking, but you're not relaxed either. Your mind is quietly running calculations. If something breaks tomorrow, if an unexpected bill shows up, if work suddenly becomes unstable, you're not terrified. But you know there's no margin for error. Now, here's the question most people never ask. What if there was a specific financial threshold where life doesn't become easy, but it becomes stable? Not rich, not luxurious. Just stable enough that small problems stop feeling like emergencies. That number isn't $1 million. It's not even close. For most people, that number is $5,000. And once you reach it, the way you think about money begins to change, permanently. Why $5,000 matters more than people realize. Most financial advice jumps straight to investing, passive income, or retirement accounts. But those conversations assume something critical, that you're not one unexpected expense away from financial stress. According to multiple consumer finance studies, the majority of households struggle to cover a sudden $1,000 expense without debt. That means before investing even enters the picture, most people are still operating in survival mode. Saving $5,000 doesn't make you wealthy, but it moves you out of fragility. And that shift changes everything. The first change: how you experience risk. When you have little or no savings, every decision feels dangerous. A job change feels risky. Taking time off feels irresponsible. Even planning ahead feels stressful. Because if something goes wrong, there's nothing to absorb the impact. With $5,000 saved, that changes. You still think carefully, but you stop thinking defensively. A minor car repair becomes annoying, not catastrophic. A short period of unemployment becomes manageable, not terrifying. You're no longer asking, "Can I survive this?" You're asking, "What's the smartest move?" That's the beginning of financial agency, the emergency fund effect without the buzzwords. Financial planners often talk about emergency funds, but the real value isn't the money itself. It's what the money represents. $5,000 doesn't exist to be spent. It exists to not be spent. It gives you permission to make decisions without panic. Most people who build a solid emergency buffer don't drain it on emergencies. They use it as a foundation. It's the difference between reacting to life and planning for it. Why stress decreases before income increases? There's solid research linking financial insecurity to elevated stress hormones, poor sleep, and impaired decision-making. When money is tight, your brain prioritizes short-term survival. Long-term thinking becomes difficult. Once you reach a modest financial buffer, that pressure eases. You don't suddenly become carefree, but your mind has room to think beyond tomorrow. That mental clarity is one of the most underrated financial assets there is. The shift that enables investing. Here's something important. People don't avoid investing because they don't understand it. They avoid investing because they can't afford volatility. If every dollar matters for rent, groceries, or emergencies, the stock market feels dangerous, not strategic. Saving $5,000 changes that. It creates a psychological separation between money you need and money you can allocate. That's when investing becomes a rational conversation instead of a stressful one. Not because you're suddenly an expert, but because you finally have a buffer. Why $5,000 is a realistic financial milestone. Unlike larger goals, $5,000 is achievable without extreme behavior. You don't need a massive income. You need consistency. Most people underestimate how much money leaks through small, recurring expenses. Subscriptions, convenience spending, impulse purchases, all add up. Redirecting even a portion of that flow changes the equation over time. The goal isn't deprivation, it's intentionality. The identity shift that matters most. The hardest part of saving money isn't math, it's identity. People who succeed financially don't think of saving as a temporary phase. They see themselves as someone who prepares. Once that identity forms, decisions align naturally. Spending becomes more deliberate. Saving becomes automatic. Planning becomes habitual. That's why the first few $1,000s are the hardest and the most transformative. What $5,000 actually protects you from? In practical terms, $5,000 covers most car repairs, many medical expenses, short-term income disruptions, unexpected household costs. It doesn't eliminate risk, it absorbs it. That absorption is what breaks the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. Why savers outpace earners? Over time, high income without savings creates vulnerability. Moderate income with savings creates stability. The person who saves develops the most important financial skill, retention. Earning matters, but keeping money matters more. Saving $5,000 proves you can do both. How this changes your future decisions. Once you reach this point, money stops feeling like something that disappears. It becomes a tool for education, a tool for better opportunities, a tool for flexibility, and most importantly, a tool for choice. The real takeaway. Saving $5,000 won't make you rich, but it will change how you think, how you decide, how you respond to uncertainty. It creates breathing room. And breathing room is where good financial decisions begin. If you're at zero, start small. If you're building momentum, stay consistent. Because the most valuable thing you gain isn't the money itself. It's becoming the kind of person who has money saved. But there's another layer to this milestone that rarely gets discussed. Once you have a $5,000 buffer, your financial timeline changes. Before that point, your timeline is short. You're thinking in days, maybe weeks. You're asking questions like, can I get through this month? Can I make it to the next paycheck? After you build a buffer, your timeline stretches. You start thinking in months, sometimes years. And that shift is critical because most good financial decisions require time. Time is the hidden variable in finance. Almost every financial advantage comes from having time. Time to compare options. Time to wait instead of rushing. Time to say no instead of saying yes out of pressure. When people make bad financial choices, it's rarely because they don't know better. It's because they're forced to decide quickly. High-interest debt, bad job offers, expensive convenience decisions. Those are not intelligence problems, they're time problems. And saving $5,000 buys you time. Why debt stops controlling your decisions. One of the most measurable effects of having savings is how it changes your relationship with debt. Without savings, debt feels like a solution. A credit card becomes a safety net. A loan becomes breathing room. With savings, debt becomes optional. And this matters because interest works against you faster than most people realize. For example, credit card interest rates in the US commonly exceed 20% annually. That means carrying a balance doesn't just cost money, it compounds against you. Once you have cash available, you stop paying interest for speed. You stop borrowing just to survive timing mismatches. That alone can save thousands over a few years. The financial floor effect. Economists sometimes describe something called a financial floor. It's the minimum level of stability where setbacks no longer cause collapse. $5,000 isn't a ceiling. It's a floor. Below it, every mistake hurts more. Above it, mistakes become recoverable. That's why two people with the same income can experience money very differently. One lives reactively, the other lives deliberately. The difference isn't income, it's buffer. Why this is where good habits finally stick. There's another reason this milestone matters. Behavior change sticks better when stress decreases. When you're constantly worried about money, discipline is fragile. Willpower runs out. Burnout happens. But when pressure drops slightly, habits stabilize. Budgeting becomes easier. Tracking expenses feels manageable. Saving stops feeling like punishment. This is why many people fail at financial plans early on.